Hi there everyone, my name's Dave West, I hope we're all doing well. So welcome back to the Ultimate Video Test, and today I'm checking out the OnePlus 8T. Now, as with all Ultimate Video Tests, I'll leave all of the main camera specifications down in the description, and I'll just run through some of the high level features throughout the video to help save you a little bit of time. So starting off then with the front facing camera, and this is a 16 megapixel fixed focus camera, and this can record video at up to 1080p, up to 30 frames per second, and it has electronic image stabilization and records just in mono sound with a low bit rate of around about 96 kilobytes per second. Now, the OnePlus 8T front facing camera is quite similar to the OnePlus 7T and also the OnePlus 7 Pro in the way that it handles video, and you could also say the OnePlus 8 Pro. It is the same lens after all, but even though it's only 1080p, the video is reasonably sharp, and with the electronic image stabilization, everything is kept nice and smooth and stable throughout the video. Now, one difference is from the previous handsets, so that's the OnePlus 7T and the OnePlus 7 Pro, is that you can also record in a fake cinematic aspect ratio. So this is 16:9, and this is the new 21:9 aspect ratio for the front facing camera. Now, it is super cropped and you still get the really good image stabilization, but you do have to hold the phone a little bit further from your face in order to get everything within the frame. But I wanted to show you this option because it was recently added as a beta feature on the OnePlus 8 Pro, but it's now also been added as a standard feature on the OnePlus 8T. So just have a look around behind me, and we can see these shifts in the exposure. So you can see it now exposes my face more, whereas if I move it upwards, you can see that then changes the exposure, so you can see the colour of the sky a little bit more. Alright, so moving around to the rear cameras then on the OnePlus 8T, and this has two usable rear cameras for video. So this is the main 48 megapixel camera, which has autofocus, auto HDR, and can record up to 4K at 60 frames per second with electronic image stabilization. And the audio recording is in stereo, and the bitrate is around about 192 kilobytes per second. So you can see there that the exposure is favouring the clouds in the background, whereas my naked eye can actually see more of this scene lit up correctly. So if I move down, that's what I can see, but if I move up, it then puts priority on the clouds in front of me. Now, you can use the 2x digital zoom, and that gives a decent level of image quality. So this is basically mimicking the telephoto camera that was on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You can zoom in up to 10 times, but as you can see, the image quality really suffers and degrades quite quickly. So if I just tap the camera icon, it takes me back to there, and you can see the clouds have been really blown out in the background there. Whereas if I move, it then auto adjusts to show the clouds in the background. So as you can see, the electronic image stabilization, as per most OnePlus handsets, is really good. It's nice and steady and smooth. You can see a little bit of bounce from footsteps, but it's still really impressive and helps to keep things nice and smooth. So you can see there, rather than exposing the whole scene, it is putting priority on the sky, which does look quite pretty, but you can't see any of this, which I can. You can see the HDR processing isn't quite as good as you get on the OnePlus 8 Pro, for example. Now, with the OnePlus 8T, like the OnePlus 8 Pro, you can also switch to the ultra-wide angle camera whilst recording. and this also benefits from the same smooth electronic stabilization as the rear camera. So starting where we left off then, and now increase the resolution to 4K at 30 frames per second. Now the ultra wide camera tops out at 4K at 30, it can't do 4K 60 like the OnePlus 8 Pro. But the ultra wide angle camera on the OnePlus 8T has a really broad 123 degree field of vision. But as you can see, as I pan round, it's suffering from a case of the jitters a bit as I pan. So as I move like this, instead of being a smooth pan, you can see it's skipping frames as it moves around. Now when I move to the wide angle camera, just the main lens, things are a little smoother, but you can still see some skip frames as I move around. Now while I'm here, let's check out the autofocus. And it's nice and quick and also nice and smooth as well. You get a nice lock on subjects that are close to the camera. You also get a nice depth of field as well behind close subjects, which looks really good. And I can even use the 2x zoom, which doesn't get the kind of same level as the main camera, but if you need to get closer to subjects and if you can't move forward with your feet, then that is a pretty useful feature. Alright, so 4K 60 now then. Now the main camera is the only camera which can do 4K 60 with electronic image stabilization, and immediately you can see there is an improvement in how the scene is exposed. So we're still getting the sky in a distance, but we're also getting more of the foreground as well, rather than it being underexposed like it was at 4K at 30 frames per second. Now, some of the sky is a little bit blown out, but this does look much better in my opinion. So good way to show off 60 FPS is with things like running water, where it looks more realistic. Now you can use digital zoom at 60 FPS. You can just use that with a little wheel on the side, and it offers you up to 8x digital zoom, which doesn't look that clever. You can also pinch the zoom as well. Well, 3x is around about acceptable, I think. And even with the zoom, the stabilization allows you to keep the whole scene steady. And you just press the camera switcher and then it brings you back to the standard magnification level. Now, if you just look through the trees here, and you can see 4K 60 does a much better job of keeping the whole scene nice and even. Okay, so as per the OnePlus 8 series, the 8 and the 8 Pro before it, you also get this Cine mode. Now it's been renamed, so it's not Cine mode anymore, it's now just 21:9, and this is with the ultra wide camera, where as you can see the choppy frame rate is really quite poor in my opinion. So we'll just walk down this bridge here. So you get stabilization in the 21:9 mode, where as you can see, sideways pans just really, it baffles me that a phone with this kind of power under the hood has still got issues like this. Now, there's nothing to do with the chipset, it's just poor software optimization in regards to the camera, which is a shame because the overall image quality is really decent when you consider the price point with the OnePlus 8T. But when kept steady, the kind of cinematic movie effect is pretty good and looks nice with these kind of scenes here. So you can switch to the main camera as well. When using the 21:9 mode. And things like autofocus should remain around the same. Yeah, you can see it gets a nice lock on that leaf on the tree branch there, and you get a nice blurred background. And then as it moves, and then puts priority on the background. So things like autofocus, the staples are pretty good, but it's just the overall image quality does suffer a bit in terms of the exposure of the whole scene. And you can also use the zoom function as well when using the cine mode. Now we can also use cine mode at 60 FPS. And it gives us the more realistic motion of background objects. But you do get the benefit of the slightly better exposure across the whole scene with 60 FPS at the expense of some slightly blown out sky. You can see just in the top left hand corner of the frame there. You let me know what you think of the video quality so far. Alright, so another video feature on the OnePlus 8T is the portrait video mode. And basically what this does is mimic the crisp subject, blurred backgrounds that you get on portrait photos and convert it into video. And this is recorded at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it's got electronic stabilization for video and also stereo sound recording. Now you do have to frame yourself correctly in order to get the most from this video mode, but when it gets it right, it does look pretty decent. Now I do need to mention that this only works on the rear camera, so it doesn't work on the selfie camera. So I'm just basically pointing the camera and hoping that I'm in the frame. But hopefully this should give you an idea of how the portrait video mode works on the OnePlus 8T. Now the last video mode on the OnePlus 8T is super stable mode. Now as I said in the OnePlus Nord video, the video stabilization is so good on OnePlus phones now that it kind of renders this super stable mode a little bit redundant in my opinion. Although it's slightly more stable than normal video, I don't think it's sufficiently better to warrant its inclusion in the software. It's only available at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and like I say, the super stable video isn't sufficiently better than the normal video stabilization for it to be used over those particular options, in my opinion. So it's got this kind of weird color science to it, like the sky is really oddly turquoise here rather than a sort of pale blue at this time of year. But it's nice to have the option, and like I say, even if you want to use it for sideways panning, it can be useful in some scenarios if you do need to use it. And if I point forward here, you can see that it does keep the video really stable. But you let me know what you think of the video quality on the OnePlus 8T overall from the rear cameras. Alright, so that's the end then of the ultimate video test for the OnePlus 8T. In my opinion, it does take a little bit of a step back from other handsets. I don't think the video quality is actually that impressive. So lots of features and options available within the app itself, but considering what is powering the phone, it's a Snapdragon 865 processor, and it's got some really decent lenses on here. Okay, they're not the newest and most fantastic lenses, but you know, DJI didn't pick the IMX586 for their Mavic 2 drone by accident. It is a really good lens, and when utilized correctly is capable of some really good results. And I think on the OnePlus 8T, if I'm being brutally honest, the video quality has taken a step backwards from other handsets. I'm not expecting it to do as well as the OnePlus 8 Pro, but I do think they could have made more of an effort with the image processing with video, because it is quite hit and miss in even these pretty standard conditions where there's a bit of sunlight around. It just really struggles to expose an entire scene. But that's just my opinion. You may think differently, and you let me know what you think down in the comments section below. And don't forget, if you're new around here, then please do consider subscribing so you don't miss more content coming like this on the channel very, very soon. But for now, this has been my ultimate video test for the OnePlus 8T. My name's Dave West, and I'll catch you guys later.